Everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday and the patch notes for patch 8.21 have been posted, and that means it's time for another patch note rundown. As always, I'll be going through the biggest changes in this week's patch and letting you guys know what you can be looking forward to in the coming weeks. 8.21, again, is not a very large patch because Riot are kind of in full swing for the preseason, which is actually going to be hitting the PvE today. So if you want to get an early look at the changes that are being made, go ahead and check out, I know there are a couple of different sites where you can check it out, or if you have your own PvE account, go ahead and check that out, and you will be able to see some of these new preseason changes that will be going live. Should be able to give you a little bit more context on what's going to be, what we can be looking forward to. But so 8.21 then is generally going to be smaller. There aren't going to be that many changes, so don't expect that much in this patch. First and foremost, talking about champions. Alistar is being nerfed in this patch. Obviously, he's been a highly contested pick at Worlds, and the biggest issue you have with Alistar is that enemies should be able to punish him if he decides to pick greedy fights, especially before he has his ultimate. So the change here is intended to make him a lot squishier so you can poke him down more effectively, and just in general make him a weaker pick into certain matchups. So just his base health was reduced, but this should mean that Alistar is a little more vulnerable to being poked out, and hopefully shouldn't be quite as just generally effective. Ashe is being buffed on this patch as well, which is interesting because she hasn't been played in a while, but Riot apparently considered her as being in line for buffs. Now, instead of just buffing her damage, they're trying to enhance her unique strengths, so that way she has more of a reason to be picked beyond just she does the most damage of any of the AD carries. Her passive's slow percentage has been increased, and her E will now ping enemies at spots if you didn't already have vision on them, so hopefully that'll help Ashe get a little bit more value of Hawkshot since her allies will be able to see now. And hopefully the passive slow increase will allow her to generally have more of a reason to pick her because you want the team-wide slows. Aurelion Sol is being changed on this patch. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a nerf or a buff. Riot are reducing his base health in order to make him more fragile if he's dived upon, but also giving him higher base health regeneration so that way he can keep his lane relatively the same, and if he can survive being dove upon, he'll be able to heal up a lot faster. So again, I think it's maybe a small nerf if you really want to consider it as such, but I consider it to be more of a moot change. Aurelia is being nerfed on this patch as well. Obviously, she's been a very hotly contested pick in professional play, and Riot are trying to make her more reliant on Blade Surge's mobility rather than being able to run enemies down on her own. Her base movement speed is being decreased to compensate for these changes to get her to be more about the Blade Surge resets and dashing to an enemy rather than just being able to run directly at them. I know it seems like a small change, but I do think this change has room to be actually an effective one for Aurelia. Ivern is actually getting buffed on this patch. The Greenfather's been weak for a long period of time, so Riot are trying to buff him basically across the board because there isn't any one area where he's weak, so they're just trying to get him back into a better spot. Ivern's base movement speed has been increased, his W's on hit damage has been increased, and his E's shield amount has also been increased. So if you're an Ivern main, you are going to be very happy with 8.21's buffs. Kai'Sa is being nerfed on this patch. Everyone knew this was coming. She's only been the most contested champion at Worlds this year so far. Riot are just generally trying to reduce her strengths. Her passive's proc damage is generally reduced against tankier targets in order to give her more trade-offs as she wants to evolve her W. And her R's shield duration has been reduced as well, so teams don't have to wait quite as long before using all of their cooldowns on a Kai'Sa that dove in too far. Karthus is actually back in the patch notes in 8.21. He is being buffed on this patch. Riot there are a couple of reasons for these buffs, which we'll talk about after I talk about the changes. His W's cooldown and mana cost have both been decreased, and his R's mana cost has gone down to 100 at all ranks. Now, the R change is literally just the modernization change. A lot of champions have their ultimates at exactly 100 at all ranks. In fact, there was a few years ago that was a standard practice for all champions. Karthus is one of the few remaining holdouts, and he has now had his mana cost decrease to 100 to meet up with everybody else. The W cooldown decrease and mana cost decrease have a couple of reasons. First and foremost, Riot are buffing Karthus' ability to actually start picking fights in lane because right now he can't really do that without his ability to use Wall of Pain first, so reducing the cooldown, allow him to fish more often and actually have a more active laning phase. And the mana cost decrease is intended to help Karthus itemize more lightly on mana because he won't out of mana himself so quickly by just spamming W or even using it off cooldown. So hopefully this helps Karthus be in a slightly better spot and hopefully helps him be more active in lane as opposed to just last hitting with Q. Finally, Zoe is being buffed on this patch. Yes, I know, everyone hates her, but she has been in a rough spot for quite some time, and Riot are trying to buff up her skill shots, so that way if she is able to land her skill shots, she actually can kill someone as opposed to just brutally wounding them. Her Q's base damage has been increased, and her E's cooldown has been decreased, so it should help Zoe look for more E shots and get some more damage on her Q. Those are all the big changes on this patch. There are a few smaller things as well. I do highly recommend you check out the patch notes, as there are some systemic changes that will be coming up. But in general, you don't have to worry too much about anything else larger happening. I think champion changes are generally good here. So anyways, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Go ahead and let me know which changes you're most excited for down in the comment section below. Would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you really enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, which is linked down in the description. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I will talk to you all later.